In March 2016, WWE held a WWE Network special entitled Roadblock. Later that year, WWE wanted to bring back the Roadblock name for a pay-per-view in December, so they just added the words "End of the Line" to the name, and the pay-per-view became known as Roadblock End of the Line. Why WWE didn't just come up with an entirely new name, we'll never know. The WWE creative team came up with a very odd name for a pay-per-view in 2011, with the very first ever Capital Punishment pay-per-view. The show was named Capital Punishment only because of the fact that it was taking place in Washington, D.C. The show was headlined by John Cena vs. R-Truth for the WWE Championship. The show garnered 170,000 pay-per-view buys. WWE had a bizarre idea in 2009. They thought it would be a good idea to change the name of the Great American Bash pay-per-view by removing Great American and just calling it The Bash. This led to fans being outraged, and many ended up not buying the show because of the name change. Old school WCW fans were excited when they heard that WWE was bringing back Clash of the Champions, but WWE once again messed things up and made fans angry by removing "the" from Clash of the Champions and changed it to Clash of Champions, thus removing any connection to the original WCW event. On October 19th, 2004, WWE presented a brand new pay-per-view named Taboo Tuesday, which was the very first WWE interactive pay-per-view, allowing fans online to vote for match stipulations, and even selecting which matchup they wanted to see. The name of the pay-per-view left fans scratching their heads, especially since WWE gave no explanation as to why it was called Taboo Tuesday. The first edition of Taboo Tuesday was headlined by Randy Orton vs. Ric Flair in a steel cage match. Unfortunately, the pay-per-view got negative reviews from fans and got a disappointing buy rate of 174,000, which is well below the WWE average of that era. In May 1995, WWE held the first ever In Your House pay-per-view. The pay-per-view was only 2 hours. It could be bought by fans for just $14.95, which was a great deal for a pay-per-view at that time. The name of the pay-per-view is still laughed at to this day, but there was a reason why the show was called In Your House. If you bought the pay-per-view, you had the chance to win a house from WWE. A fan did end up winning a house, but it's not known if the fan and their family ever lived in it. Later on, WWE added special names to go along with the In Your House name. Some of the most laughable ones were Beware of Dog, International Incident, No Way Out of Texas, and It's Time. From the ashes of Taboo Tuesday, Cyber Sunday arose and took its place with the same interactive pay-per-view concept. The name was a little better than Taboo Tuesday, but it still wasn't a good name. WWE did not get the hint from fans that they didn't care about a pay-per-view where fans could vote on match stipulations. The company ended up doing Cyber Sunday pay-per-views in 2006, 2007, and 2008, and all of the pay-per-views scored lackluster reviews and buy rates. In 2005 and 2006, ECW One Night Stand was held, but for some reason WWE decided to take the name and use it for one of their own pay-per-views, starting in June of 2007. The 2007 version had Bobby Lashley defending the ECW Championship against Vince McMahon, but the rest of the show had wrestlers from the Raw brand. In 2008, they called the show One Night Stand Extreme Rules. Back in 1991, WWE put on the Survivor Series pay-per-view, and it was headlined by Hulk Hogan vs. The Undertaker for the WWE Championship. Undertaker defeated Hogan in a controversial manner, with help from Ric Flair. WWE had mentioned earlier in the pay-per-view that they were doing a pay-per-view the following Tuesday, after Survivor Series called This Tuesday in Texas. WWE ended up doing Hogan vs. Undertaker in a rematch for the WWE Championship, where Hogan won, but he was stripped of the championship later on. The bad pay-per-view name scared away many fans, and the fact that the show took place on a Tuesday led to it not garnering the success that WWE hoped it would. It was recently announced that the July 9th WWE Raw pay-per-view will be called Great Balls of Fire. Wrestling fans were shocked by the name of the pay-per-view because of the comedic overtones, and being named after a Jerry Lee Lewis song. Most likely the name will have little to nothing to do with the actual event, unless they decide to have an Inferno match or a fire-related spot on the show. I wouldn't say fans are disappointed by the name, but they are definitely confused by it, and many have made fun of it on social media.